Om Shanti. Good evening, everyone, and most welcome to our special event today. Goodbye to anger, frustration, and irritation. It's our pleasure to have all of you in today's event. I am Khaled from Harmony House Meditation Center in Kuwait. I will be your host today. First of all, I want to thank our special guest, Mr. John McConnell, for being with us today. Mr. John, thank you very much for being with us. And also, I want to thank, yeah, most welcome. And also, I want to thank Harmony House Meditation Center for organizing today's event, Ms. Aruna Latba and Mona Al-Arfaj, and also Bahrain Meditation Center for the translation, Dr. Awatif and Faiza. Thank you so much for the translation. And I will give a short, brief introduction of our special guest, Mr. John McConnell. He is a prison governor and social worker for more than 45 years, and also he's studying and teaching meditation for over 25 years. Also, he is a managing director and main presenter of Stressless Training. He has been working in the field of personal development and stress management training for a lot of years. Also, our speaker has overcome some very stressful situation in his life, which add a depth of wisdom, insight, and understanding to enable us, the participants, to know the cause of our stress and often life changing. Also, our speaker has conducted many workshops in his country and abroad, variety of organizations and universities such as LSE, Imperial College, and local authorities such as Brent, Camden, and Southwark, charity such as Greenpeace and the New Economic Forum. And also, he's the author of Breaking Through the Darkness. It is how to defeat depression and anxiety and stress in our daily life. So thank you everyone for being with us today. Please, if you have any question, you can write it in the chat box. And Mr. John McConnell, please feel free to speak. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you for that kind introduction. And I'm very pleased to be here with you all. And I'd like to congratulate you for making the time to join us. Because anger and managing it or overcoming it or saying goodbye to it is one of the most important things that you could do, not only for yourself, but also the world. Because if we look around us, we can see the effects of anger everywhere. Whether we're looking at war scenes or scenes of civil unrest, on our TVs, or whether we're walking down the street and we're hearing people shouting at each other, or parents smacking their children, or road rage. Anger expresses itself in so many different ways. And it actually has a huge impact on our health, on our relationships, and on the general state of the world. So why do I think you're so special for coming? Because in my opinion, you're 2 steps ahead of most people in the world. And the first step is that you're aware of your anger. And the second step is that you're wanting to do something about it. And for a lot of people, they're not necessarily aware of their anger. They think of it as something which is perfectly normal and it's just something that you have to live with. So they don't even think about it, and therefore they don't have that desire to change. So I'd like you to give yourselves a pat on the back for coming and for realizing actually that it's an important topic and there is something that you want to do to change things. And this subject, which I have spoken about now for many years, because I've ended up developing a course on it, of which we're going to do like a very brief summary. And that really is based on an assumption that that we can overcome or say goodbye to our anger. So what we're going to be talking about this evening is actually coming from a very different premise from most other courses on managing anger. Because most people or most courses are based on the assumption that anger is perfectly normal and natural. And it's a bit like a medical condition, you know, like a heart disease or whatever, or diabetes, something which we have to live with and something we have to manage. Whereas the message of this particular approach is that we can get rid of it completely. Out of interest, ask yourself, you know, is it possible to get rid of anger completely? And for those of you who said no, it's not possible, you're correct. And for those of you who said it is possible, you are correct as well. Because, you know, whatever we believe, we will achieve, if you like. So if you think you can't overcome your anger, you won't be able to. So very important to check on how we are looking at this. And I say the basic assumption, which I work from, is that actually human beings are innately good, that we all actually are creatures of peace and love and happiness. We may not be feeling like that now. We may be really angry now, but my understanding that I like to work from is that the frustration and the anger and the irritation are things which we have learned over time. They're like habits which we have created as a result of different experiences that we've had in our life. So they don't actually belong to us. We weren't born angry, frustrated, or irritated. We've become angry, frustrated, or irritated. And therefore, if it doesn't really belong to us, I believe it's possible to get rid of it. And just imagine how you would feel if you weren't angry, if you weren't frustrated, if you were always living in a state of peace. So maybe for a minute, we'll just focus on that and do some slow, deep, gentle breathing. And imagine when you're breathing in peace. And when you're breathing out, you're letting go of any anger, frustration, or irritation. Just notice your body calming down. Notice your mind calming down. And now, just for a few moments, imagine a world in which there is no anger. In other words, a world of peace. Imagine what it would be like if you were completely peaceful. If your family and friends were completely peaceful. If the country you're living in and the world was completely peaceful. Imagine what the environment would be like if we were all completely peaceful. If we were all non-violent. How would we treat animals? How would we treat nature? Imagine no armies, no nuclear weapons. All countries living in peace, all people living in peace. And now just bring your awareness back into the room where you are. And just notice how good you feel. Full of hope, feeling calm, feeling positive, feeling good. So this is how we are meant to be. And when we're calm, we can see things more clearly. When we're calm, we can make better decisions. When we're calm, we can make better choices. We can respond rather than react to things. And we'll come up with much better solutions to all the challenges in our life. If we weren't meant to be like this, then what we've just done now, this little visualization and the deep breathing and that, wouldn't have had any effect. Because it wouldn't have been tuning in to our deep inner nature of peace. So if you can remember this feeling and remember how we achieved it, how did we get to this nice state of peace? Well, how did you? Because you have done it to yourself. I haven't made you peaceful. You've just had a touch of peace by taking control of two aspects of yourself. The first aspect is by taking control of the body. And we did that by doing that slow, deep, gentle breathing, which relaxed us, which released endorphins, which made us feel good. The other thing we did was we took control of our mind. And there's a very strong connection between the mind and the body. Whatever is going on in here is automatically reflected in the body. And there's nothing we can do about it. If I'm worried, if I'm anxious, if I'm afraid, automatically things will start happening in my body. Tension will arise. And lots of other physical symptoms will be produced. So by putting something positive in my mind, by imagining a world being full of peace, for example, which we've just done, that again releases endorphins and it makes the body feel good as well as the mind. So if we want to say goodbye to anger and frustration and irritation, then the fundamental thing we need to do is to take control of the body and take control of our mind. And that can be very practical, in the sense that taking control of my body might mean stopping myself from saying something. It might mean turning away, walking away. It might mean putting down my fists instead of raising them. And then in my mind, it will mean seeing things differently, understanding things differently. So this is like a little forerunner of what we're going to be doing over the next hour. And I'm going to be using some slides from a PowerPoint presentation, which I use. And I'm going to be taking us on a 4-step journey. So I'm just going to start hopefully sharing the screen now. So starting a share screen will stop other computers sound share. Well, that's okay, isn't it? Can I just have some advice on that? When it says stop the sound share, that means people won't be able to talk. You'll still be able to hear me, I presume. Is that correct?
Yes, John.
Okay, good, thank you. Thank you for that. Okay, so here we go. Goodbye to anger, learning to live in peace again. Because if peace is our original nature, then if we can learn or relearn to just touch base with that, everything is going to be so much better. So there are 4 steps to saying goodbye to anger and frustration and irritation. The first step is to open our eyes and to understand anger, the impact that it has on us and on our bodies and on other people. So we're going to be looking at that briefly. Step 2, we need to look at what's going on in our mind and change our mind if what is going on there isn't very good. So in other words, we're going to look at the power of thoughts in creating and resolving anger. And then a very important part is healing our hearts. Many of us are walking around with deep unresolved wounds or hurts from the past, especially from childhood. And if we don't recognize them and deal with them, then they're going to carry on having a huge impact on the way we deal with different situations in our life. And then the 4th part is awakening our spirit. And that's looking at anger from a spiritual perspective, because we are human beings. So in other words, there is a being in the body. we can call that being a soul or a spirit, whatever you wish. But there is another aspect to us which can help us quite a lot to deal with things in a different and a better way. So hopefully by the end of this session, you have a better idea of the anger process and you'll be able to choose more appropriate and positive responses to situations which trigger anger and have some practical tools to help you. So I'm just going to give you a definition of anger here, and I'm going to explain this as we go along. So anger is a fear-based negative emotional reaction to situations, circumstances, or people which disturbs our peace of mind and has harmful consequences for the self and others. So just to elaborate on that a little bit, fear-based. Behind anger, there is often a lot of fear and a lot of unhappiness. And that fear could be fear of being attacked, fear of being insulted or humiliated, fear for your life. There could be all sorts of fears. The negative bit is not used in a judgmental way. It's just that when we get angry, we don't actually feel good about ourselves. We feel unhappy, we feel stressed, we feel anxious, we feel bad in some way or another. And one of the reasons why we do is because we're going against our basic peace-loving nature. So it's very important to understand that, you know, those feelings of feeling bad are actually messages to us to tell us we've gone away from our peace. We've gone away from our peace of mind. Another key word there is reaction. Now, it's very important when we're dealing or trying to understand how to say goodbye to anger. It's very important to know the difference between reacting and responding. Now, a reaction is an automatic, non-thinking way of dealing with things. It's what animals do. So if I react to anything, I'm no different from a dog that sees a cat and chases it across the road and doesn't notice the traffic on the road and gets run over. And in our own way, when we react to anything, it's guaranteed the situation will be made worse. We may not get run over like the dog, but we will get hurt, we will say or do things which we will later regret. So if I can respond rather than react to the things that happen in my life, I'm much less likely to get angry, I'm much less likely to get frustrated, much less likely to get irritated. Because when I respond, it gives me an opportunity to stop and think, if only for a second, and then I'm able to come up with a solution which will help to make things better. So for example, if somebody shouts at me, I could react and shout back at them, and then we could have a big argument, could even end in a fight and things like that. Or I could respond and think, well, hang on a minute, very quickly in your mind, this person is very upset. And I'm, instead of shouting back, I might say, I can see you're really upset. Let's sit down and talk about it, you know, and have an open heart and an open conversation. Tell me about it. What have I done? What have I said that's made you feel so bad? So you can start, you know, negotiating, you can start listening, you can start calming things down. Because really, you know, there's two choices, and we can either pour petrol on the flames, or we can calm things down with like a fire blanket. A fire blanket will help to put out the flames. So rather than escalating things and making things worse so they get completely out of hand, we want to do the opposite. We want to de-escalate, we want to de-stress, we want to make things more calm, more peaceful, so that we can learn from each other, so that we can come up with better, mutually satisfying solutions. So yes, this is the way to deal with things which disturb our peace of mind, that natural inner peace. The harmful consequences for the self, it's very interesting, that one, because every time we get frustrated or irritated or angry, we trigger off what's called the fight or flight response. And that's like a stress reaction to a situation. And with that fight or flight response, various things happen in the body. So for example, cortisol is injected into the bloodstream. Now, cortisol thickens your blood.
John?
Yes?
I've just got a message that the Arabic translation has stopped. Can you just pause a second?
Yes, of course.
Okay, we just check it. Sorry about this.
No problem. Okay. Right, so I was just about to describe the harmful consequences of getting angry on our bodies. So when we get angry, we trigger off the fight or flight reaction. And as a result of that, adrenaline, circulates around the body. The heart starts beating faster. The breath becomes more shallow. The muscles tense up and cortisol is injected into the bloodstream. The cortisol thickens the blood, and therefore we end up trying to push thickened blood through narrower veins and arteries because of the tension in the muscles. If that happens just now and then, it's not a problem. If we're always triggering off that fight or flight reaction because we're regularly getting frustrated or irritated or angry, then eventually all those stress reactions are going to end up affecting the body. The immune system will go down and it won't be able to cope. And that will lead to all sorts of medical conditions in the long run. And for example, if you're always shouting and swearing and really sort of exploding all over the place, then you could end up having heart disease or a heart attack because of the pressure which you're putting on your heart through all that thickened blood going through those narrower veins or arteries. You could end up with skin conditions. So eczema, for example, is quite an interesting example because the emotional cause of eczema is extreme antagonism. You're not able to express your feelings verbally or emotionally to others. And as a result, the anger explodes through the body. If you're the sort of person who is always sweet and smiling and pretending everything's okay, but you're sitting on a load of resentment, sitting on a load of rage, sitting on a load of frustration or irritation, then you could end up with cancer. I'm not saying all cancers are due to suppressed anger, but there is definitely a correlation, at least in some cases, a connection. Because all those feelings are inside us and they're all going to come out sooner or later, one way or the other, whether we like it or not. So again, depression can be anger against yourself. Suicide, that's the ultimate form of anger against yourself or maybe others. I'll teach them a lesson, I'll kill myself. So it's very deep and it has a huge impact. So you can see how harmful all the consequences are. Right, so that's giving us a good understanding of it. Once we're aware of what we're doing to ourselves, then we've got a very powerful incentive to do something about it. So what I'd like you to do, if you have a pen and paper, I would like you to write down the word trigger. And next to it, put down an example of something which makes you frustrated, angry, or irritated. It doesn't have to be a big thing, can be anything. It could be the train being late. It could be, the air conditioning breaking down. Underneath that word trigger, if you could write the word behavior, and then next to that, one or two examples of how you behave when your trigger occurs. So I'm going to use the example of a traffic jam. So when I get stuck in a traffic jam, I used to shout maybe, or swear, or beat my horn, or clench the steering wheel very tightly. So put down how you would behave in your trigger situation. Underneath that, write down physical effects. And just reflect on what happens in my body when that trigger occurs. You might get a tension headache. You might get pain in your back. Your hands may start, getting very tense. So write down the physical effects. Underneath that, the physical effects, then write the word emotion. So what emotion do you feel when that trigger occurs? Might be the frustration, might be irritation, might be rage, it might be hate. There's all sorts of things that could go there. All sorts of feelings. So put down a feeling there. And then underneath the word emotion, write the word thought. And next to that, write the first thought that you have when your trigger occurs. So in my case, it might be, I hate traffic jams. So you write down your thoughts. So what we've done here, we've chosen a trigger, and then we've written down the 4 reactions which happen as a result of a trigger like that. So there's a reaction in terms of our behavior, the effects on our body, our feelings, and our thoughts. All these things usually happen very quickly, so quickly we're not aware of them. But what we've done, we've taken a moment out to stop, to reflect, to break things down and understand what's going on. And this is very important when it comes to getting rid of our anger and our frustration. We need to understand it. We need to step back from it. We need to be more objective. We need to have an open mind to learn about what's going on in here. Why am I behaving like this? What's causing all this? Because if we don't understand it, we're not really going to be able to do anything about it. So, looking at that, the next step could be to, reflect on it and think, my goodness, look at what's going on here every time I get angry over such a little thing. So then, you could write down, what could I do differently to reduce the impact of the situation? So when it comes to that then, the reflecting and the learning, for example, in my case with the traffic jam, I could, the next time it happens, I could put on some calming music to calm me down. I could do some slow, deep, gentle breathing to relax my body. I could accept the situation. It is what it is. Now, this is a very powerful tool. Accepting things as they are without judgment is neither good nor bad. This can help a lot. It's a very important tool for managing things. The traffic jam, the plane being delayed, the air conditioning going off, I have a choice. I can respond, I can accept, I can look for a solution rather than getting upset and reacting and getting frustrated and angry.
Sorry, John, can I interrupt?
Yes.
Are you changing the slides? Because there's only one slide there. Have you changed the slides?
I haven't changed it yet. No, I'm talking to it because if I start
okay, so you know, right?
all
Because I know that. Yeah, sorry about that. Okay.
Yeah.
Because you weren't so confident with it, so I thought, let me check. Okay.
Okay. Yes, because of the time factor, I think maybe I'll just carry on talking and not use the slides now then. That might be better. Because there's a lot to be said in a relatively short time. So it would be better if I stopped sharing the slides.
Well, then we should see you then. That would be nice.
Okay. So I'll stop the sharing now then. And I'll take my glasses off so you don't see shining eyes. Okay, I'm hoping you're following what I'm saying. Am I speaking reasonable speed or too fast, Aruna?
No, that's all perfect. Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, so yes, taking that step back and reflecting on things and thinking of other ways in which you could handle it can make a big difference. So any situation you're in, if you can go away, think about it, understand what's going on, and then be honest with yourself, because we're not wanting to blame anybody for anything, because at the end of the day, I'm in charge of my life. I'm in charge of my responses. I'm the one who has the power to change things. I will not want to be the victim, because victims feel hopeless and helpless. And if I'm waiting for my husband to change his behavior, or if I'm waiting for my kids to start cleaning their bedrooms, in order for me to feel calm and peaceful and happy, and then I could be waiting a long time. And I'm going to get very bitter and resentful because they won't do what I want. They are making me unhappy. It's all their fault. Now we're trying to shift away from that. We're trying to look at ourselves, look at our responsibilities. Why am I thinking like this? Why am I behaving like this? How can I change? What do I need to do? What's about my needs? So it's a very different sort of approach. So with your example there, you know, when you reflect on it, you can suddenly see there are things I could do to make things different. I could assert myself instead of always passively saying, yes, 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 I'll do this and I'll do that. And always being on the run and always feeling under pressure and always feeling taken advantage of by other people. You know, I can learn to say no. I can learn to put down boundaries. I can learn to be assertive. And these are very important skills and qualities which I need in order to live a more peaceful, happy life. I need to take control. I need to recognize I have a choice over how I think, a choice over how I behave, a choice over what I say and do. And I can go down that route of being negative and critical and judgmental and bitter and resentful and pessimistic. I can go down that route of fear, or I can change. I can go down the route of peace, the route of love, the road to solutions rather than problems, the road of empowerment and optimism. And I usually summarize that choice which we all have as either going the sad way or the glad way. So once you know you have a choice, you can then decide what you want to do. So the sad way stands for being sad, angry, and depressed or distressed. The glad way is being giving, loving, accepting, and detached. Detachment is very important. Taking a step back, looking at things objectively is crucial. But to do that in a cold, clinical way is not helpful. So detachment needs to be combined with love. And love involves compassion, love involves acceptance, love involves all sorts of very positive things. And again, if I can give rather than take in the situation, that's going to make things better. If I realize that angry people are unhappy people, this is a very important point actually. Anyone who is angry with you is because they're unhappy. There's something inside them, you know, which is causing them pain, and they're taking their pain out on you. And you often hurt the ones closest to you because you feel safer with them. You can, I know it's not necessarily nice to be on the receiving end of it, but maybe they can't express all that pain and that anger to anyone else. But obviously we want to get beneath the pain and the anger so that it can be healed. Okay, so that's step one, you know, understanding anger and that, and opening our eyes is so important. Step two, again, if you go back to your example there, where you've got the trigger and you've got those 4 reactions, what I would like you to do is put a tick against the reaction which you think is the most important. There's a good argument for saying it's your behavior which is the most important, because if you shoot somebody, then obviously you're going to end up in prison or whatever. You could say if you're always angry, it's going to have a huge impact on your body and you could die from a heart attack or maybe get cancer. So there's a good argument for that. Your emotions, obviously you can say they're very important. I get carried away by my feelings and I end up saying things which I regret. So that's important. Or you could think of your thoughts. And our thoughts are very powerful. So put a tick against one of those and I'll tell you the answer. The most important reaction there is the way you think about the trigger. And I can guarantee you've all written down a negative thought about the trigger. Negative thoughts are thoughts which damage the self and other people. Criticism, judgment, complaining, blaming, they're all negative. So if I react in a negative way with a negative thought, that negative thought's going to lead to a negative emotion, the frustration, the anger, or the irritation. And that combination, because of the mind-body connection, will affect my body. And then my behavior will be the result of all those internal aspects. I hope that's clear. So this model is very important. It can help you a lot, because when you see somebody who's really angry, or even if yourself, if I'm feeling really angry, start going down. What's happening in my body, or what's happening in their body? Understand all those stress reactions are going on in them. How am I feeling? What am I thinking? And then that leads to that second step about changing our mindset. Okay, so in our minds, we've got those two choices. Again, we've got the negative thinking, which will damage us and others. We've got the positive thinking. So, Aruna, do you do a positive thinking course at all? I don't know whether she's there.
From time to time.
From time to time, okay. So knowing the difference between positive thinking and negative thinking is very important. So positive thinking is thoughts which bring benefit to myself and to other people. Yes, so thoughts of appreciation, appreciating myself, appreciating other people, rather than looking at their weaknesses, will make me feel good, will make them feel good. Being grateful for what I have, rather than complaining about what I haven't. Gratitude can help enormously to boost our positivity, boost our happiness, and reduce our frustration and our anger. Because when we focus on the positive, we'll generate lots of good thoughts and feelings, and we'll feel much better, we'll feel much calmer. Another thing is to recognize there's benefit in everything. So this can help us a lot. What's the benefit in this situation? What can I learn from this person who is triggering off all these feelings inside me? They're there to give me a message. They're there to help me to learn and grow. Another very important thing is to look at our beliefs. We all have a set of beliefs which we absorbed when we were children, and some of those beliefs aren't very helpful in the here and now. We're still running on old programs. You're stupid, you're no good. Who do you think you are? Those sorts of programs which really shrunk us and imprisoned us in a real negative, hostile mental environment. We need to check these, look through them, sort them out, get rid of the ones which aren't helping us, get rid of the ones which lead to inner unhappiness and frustration. Because if I'm not happy with myself, I'm not going to be happy with anyone else. And then you can tell anyone, the way people speak to others is really an indication of how they treat themselves. So if somebody's really angry with you, I can guarantee they've got a voice inside them which is beating themselves up a lot of the time too. Because we just project on the outside what's going on the inside. So check those beliefs, check your attitude. Is it a positive mental attitude or a negative one? An attitude is a state of mind which we use to deal with everything. And we're either going to be on one side or the other, and it will be our automatic response. We'll automatically get angry, or we'll automatically deal with things in a positive way and look for a solution. And the other key thing is our expectations. This is a major cause of anger. If we expect anything from anyone, we're trying to control them. And if they don't respond or do what we say or expect or want, we're going to get angry. So we need to get rid of all expectations. Don't expect a please or a thank you from somebody. Don't expect gratitude when you do something. So it's a big thing to get rid of our expectations, but that's not to say we don't do it. We need to replace them with something. So hope is quite helpful. Hope is more fluid, more flexible. I hope somebody will, treat me nicely. If they don't, I don't have to get upset about it, but I can say something about it. I can be assertive and say, I would appreciate it if you could, ... whatever it may be. So changing expectations into hope will definitely help a lot. So these are some of the things that we can do to change our mind. Moving on, the next thing we need to do is heal our hearts. And I would say this is probably, for most people, the most important thing that you can do. Because when we were little, we didn't know any better. We were very innocent. All sorts of things could have happened to us. We could have had all sorts of negative experiences, which we weren't in a position to control. We weren't in a position to say anything or do anything. And we may have been abused physically, mentally, emotionally, or we may have suffered other traumas. Somebody may have died, one of our parents may have died, our parents may have got divorced, there may have been problems in the household of drugs or alcohol abuse. There are all sorts of things which, as children, we may have experienced. And those things inside, those experiences, actually don't go away. They become like wounds inside. If they're not looked at, if they're not healed, then anyone can come along and they can trigger off a reaction inside you, a reminder that something, from the past is now brought into the present. So I'll give you an example. For me, I I used to get called beanpole a lot when I was at school because I was always taller than the other children. And not only did people call me that, but quite often it would be the smaller boys, the bully boys, they would whack me on the back saying, hello, beanpole. And at the same time, they'd put their leg out or their foot out to trip me over. So I'd end up falling on the playground, grazing my elbows or my hands and my knees in the days when we wore shorts. And I'd feel hurt and humiliated. I had lots of those experiences, to the extent that when I was older, when I walked past a group of children, I'd have to go on the other side of the road because I would still be, they would trigger off memories inside me of being called names, and I would be expecting them or thinking they're going to start calling me a beanpole. So there was a lot of pain inside, and that was something I had to look at. And if we can look at these things and accept them, understand them, and let go of them, and release the feelings connected with the things which have happened in the past, we can't deny the past. It is what it is. But on the other hand, we can learn from it. We can release the feelings from it. And so that we are no longer affected in the present by it. So because I've let go of my beanpole experiences, partly through letting them go in meditation, partly by understanding that those kids themselves probably came from quite brutal homes where they felt insecure, where they were probably bullied by their parents. With understanding, looking at the situation now, and also realizing a lot of them were jealous of me because I was always the brightest boy in the class and I was always wanting to study rather than play around. So I was a bit of an oddball, so I can understand people don't like oddballs. They find them threatening. But on the other hand, I was reminding them of things which they hadn't got and may have liked. So when you reinterpret things and see them in a different way, you feel differently about it and you can release the feelings connected with it. So that's a little example. So to heal the heart, I think, we need to acknowledge the feelings, acknowledge what has gone on in the past. We need to accept it. Not deny it, say, yeah, I really was angry then, and it's still affecting me now. And then I have to have a willingness to let go of it because it's not going to help me. It's leaving me trapped in anger. So there's lots of things you can do to change that. You could, for example, write a letter to the person, that whether they're living or dead, write it all down, all the things you felt at the time, and then you don't send the letter to them, but you burn the letter or tear it up with love. Let it go with love. Let it go with peace, because you want to heal. You want to feel good again. You want to feel content. So I'm going to do a little letting go exercise now. I know Khalid has appeared on the screen there. Is that to remind me I need to be stopping soon for questions and things? I need to do this, and I just want to mention a little bit about step 4. So I need another 5 minutes. Okay. Okay, so we're going to just let go as much as we can. So if you'd like to sit back, relax, do some slow, deep, gentle breathing. And then have an intention in your mind. I want to let go of all my angry feelings from the past, because I realize they're not helping me. I want to say goodbye to them. I want to let go of them. I want to heal. I want to feel peaceful. I want to feel calm. So with that intention, visualize on the screen of your mind a big container. And then visualize all your feelings of frustration and anger and rage and hate, whatever it may be. Give them a shape and a color. Maybe they're like black rocks, maybe they're like thick mud, whatever they may be, you decide. And then standing back, because remember, we're wanting to let go. We don't want to re-engage with it. We don't want to get upset by it. We want to release it. So take a step back and imagine or visualize all these past hurts just pouring out of you into the container. And the container will expand to take whatever you want to put in it. So let it all just pour out. Maybe a liquid, it may be a solid, doesn't really matter what. Maybe just a load of rubbish. Just let it all go. And then when the container is full and there's no more left to put in the container, when you feel drained of all these negative, painful feelings from the past, just visualize yourself sealing the container in any way that you want, with everything's in it. And then in front of the container, you'll notice there's a big furnace, a big roaring fire. So just visualize yourself pushing the container into the furnace, pushing it with love, pushing it with the desire to let go of it all. And then just watch the container burning away, everything being reduced to ashes. And now just notice how much lighter you feel, how much more peaceful you feel. And see yourself like a phoenix rising from the ashes of all this stuff that you've let go of. And be like a powerful, beautiful bird that's been freed from all these things, and just see yourself soaring through the sky, feeling light and powerful and peaceful and positive. And now just feel how much calmer you feel, how much more peaceful you feel. So this is an example of how you can let go. You can create your own ways of doing it. These are just some suggestions. So that's healing the heart. And then the fourth step is awakening your spirit. Now, I think your spirit has probably already been awakened, not only from what I've been talking about, but also from all the other sessions, which I'm sure you've had over time through coming here to Aruna and the center. The recognition that you're a spiritual being, recognition there's more to life than meets the eye, an understanding of the law of karma. What we give out, we will get back. So if we want to live a peaceful life, we need to give out peace. If we want to get rid of our anger, we need to be glad, giving, loving, accepting, and detached. And then if we need, which we all do, if we need the power to do some of these things, then we connect with the divine, the being who is full of peace and love and is able to supplement our own peace and love and give us the boost which we need. So I won't say any more about that at the moment because the time is getting on and you're probably very familiar with that step. So if you can remember the 4 steps, you know, to open your mind, open your eyes, to change your mind, to heal your heart and awaken your spirit. Work on those on a daily practical basis. It's not all going to happen overnight. And have an aim to be calm, to be peaceful, to be loving. And recognize you have the choice, you have the power, you can do it if you really want to. But I must just give you a warning. When you change, it can lead to a reaction from those around you who won't believe that you've changed, who will start to test you, who will want you to be your old angry self. And, you know, whenever I do talks like this, I'm always challenge myself. Something will happen to test me, to make sure that I am being peaceful. So all the challenges which will come are there to help you to learn and grow and become strong. So they're your friends. So your worst enemy is your best friend. The person you can't stand is there to help you to realize that you are intolerant. You do have issues which you need to resolve. So I'll stop there and allow you to ask some questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. John, for this interesting topic and for this valuable information. So just to give a small summary of today's topic, whatever we believe we can achieve, anger is a habit created over time. We didn't born with anger, we become angry. Whatever happened in our mind automatically will reflect in our body. And the 4 steps to manage anger: open our eyes, change our mind, heal our heart, awaken our spirit. And anger is fear-based. The difference between reaction and responding. The tool to manage anger is accept situation without judgment, look for solution, not a problem, and also to take a step back and reflect. The quality to live peaceful. I am in charge of my life. I have the power to change things, not being a victim, not changing other, and look at how can I change, learn how to put a boundary and be assertive. And I have a choice how to behave, say, and do. Detachment combined with love, and angry people, unhappy people, and also how to change our mindset uh, to be gratitude, focus on the positive benefit in everything, what I learned from the situation, look at our belief and check our attitude. And expectation is the major cause of anger. So live without any expectation, no expectation, and clean heart. to clean our heart is to acknowledge our feeling and accepting the feeling and let go with love. So thank you, Mr. John. And we have two questions. So the first question, how to deal with guilt after an outburst, even after apologizing, yet uh, we couldn't let go of ourselves.
Okay. Yes, I can understand that one. Yeah, we will feel guilty because, you know, there will be that feeling we shouldn't have said this, we shouldn't have done that, we've gone, you know, overstepped the boundaries. Now, guilt actually isn't a very helpful thing to hold on to. And the best way to get rid of it is to try and rectify the situation if you can. So, for example, apologize. So being humble, talking about it can really make a big difference. So don't just dwell on it, but see it as a learning opportunity. And as I say, if you can rectify it in different ways by saying I'm sorry, or by asking, you know, let us talk about it a bit more, or whatever, it will make a difference. But guilt alone is just going to drag you down. So maybe, you know, having indulged is a little bit, there's a very useful thing called putting a full stop. You refuse to go down that route anymore. It happened, you've done your best to resolve it, and let go. I hope that answers the question.
Yes. Also, there is another question about, can you explain again the sad way and the glad way?
Yes, okay. So the sad way and the glad way, there's a choice. We can either go down the negative route, you know, where we're always complaining and blaming and things like that. If we go down that route, then we end up feeling a victim. And the underlying emotion of a victim is one of fear, afraid of doing something, afraid what might happen. And then consequently, people in that frame of mind are more likely to be pessimistic than optimistic. And so you get imprisoned in a state of thinking and being, which ends up with you feeling stressed or angry or distressed or even depressed. So that's the sad side. So rather than going that way, if we can go the other side, if we can be positive, if we can respond rather than react, if we can look for solutions rather than concentrating on the problem, we're much more likely to feel empowered. In other words, we feel there's something that we can do about it. And consequently, we're much more likely to be optimistic rather than pessimistic. And the result of all that is that we will feel glad or happy. And the glad can stand for, you can make up your own words for it, but for me, it's giving. So you're trying to understand, you know, understanding is a form of giving, compassion is a form of giving. So we're giving, loving, accepting, and being detached. Detachment is crucial because it enables us to take a step back. Acceptance, it is what it is. This person is angry. It's neither good nor bad. It just is the way it is. The plane is delayed. It's very hot. It is what it is. Getting upset by the heat won't make the heat go away. It'll just make you feel bad. So it's trying to remember that choice.
Also, we have another question. If I can manage my anger, can I manage other people's anger, like family members or friends?
Well, they have to manage their own anger. And if you're managing yours, if you're letting go of your anger, and you're treating them differently, if you're treating them with respect, if you're no longer shouting at them or threatening them and things like that, because of the law of karma, sooner or later they will be influenced by the way you're dealing with things. So it's a bit like, you know, putting a stone in a pool of water, it will ripple out, which is why, you know, the only way the world is going to change is by us all individually changing. You can't impose it from the top. It's got to come from within each of us. So if you become peaceful and loving and happy at home, in your own way, being independent, not influenced by other people, you will be a very powerful role model, and that will help other people. And remember, we don't want to manage our anger, we want to get rid of it. It doesn't belong to us.
Also, there is another question from the Arabic group, like they say, how to deal with sensitivity if I am being sensitive in a situation with other person?
Yes, sensitivity. I think partly the answer to that is to be detached. Because, you know, if some people are oversensitive and they're wondering, what are they thinking? What are they feeling? Oh dear, isn't it awful? And you end up in their world and getting involved in everything that's happening to them and feeling sorry for them and bad and all the rest of it. So you become very anxious yourself. That's not going to help them, and it's not going to help you, because you'll be dragged down by that way of behaving. So if I can take that step back, be detached, have good wishes for the people, have compassion and understanding, but not be influenced by it. And that means really remembering who I am. You know, I am a peaceful being. And through that, and giving out positive energy rather than taking in their negativity. So there's a nice phrase which sums it up: observe rather than absorb. So you observe things, but you don't absorb them, you don't take them into yourself, because that will just drag you down.
Yes, so thank you, Mr. John, for this special event today and for this interesting topic. And thank for all our participants, the Arabic group and the English group, for being with us today. So today we can say goodbye for our anger, irritation, and frustration. We have all the knowledge, valuable knowledge from our special guest. And good night, and thank
Can
you.
I just, before we say goodbye, I'd like to say thank you for joining. Thank you for listening. I hope it will make a difference. And I'd also like to mention this book, which I've written. A lot of the ideas I've talked about are in the book, and it's called Breaking Through the Darkness: How to Defeat Depression, Anxiety, and Stress, a Spiritual Perspective. So it's available on Inspired Stillness or Amazon and things like that. And there's also a website to go with it, which is freely available, called breakingthroughthedarkness.com. And there's lots of inspiring quotations there and videos and different things like that. So it's worth having a look at that, you know, if you're interested. So thank you all very much, and hopefully I'll see you again next time.
And for the checklist and the summary, please, we can send it to you in WhatsApp or on email addresses. So feel free to contact us. Thank you very much. Thank you. And Om Shanti.